How's it with first caller? Good. Okay, you're able to send me a little name? Yeah. Any questions for me or? So last week we started covering the turns, the legs, and everything like that, right? Okay. So we'll start off with a quick review. Just show me how you've been practicing and doing each of the turns, from the pivots to the crossovers. Make sure all that's being practiced correctly, and then we'll move on to the next. Okay. Whenever you're ready. Try another right turn. Go ahead and come to a stop. Good. And what's your number right now? 55? Okay. So, on a couple of those crossovers, did it feel a bit awkward?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When you do your crossovers during the week, is it awkward?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know why they're awkward?
Very unnatural.
Okay. So, she's about half a foot ahead. So in order for the crossovers to be very smooth, her right shoulder needs to be next to your left leg. So actually, because I saw you're going into the left turn and you started using your hand again, and then trying to rush in front of her because she's not in proper position. Okay. Does she have any storm anxiety or anything like that? No. What about wind or just? No. Okay. Because she looks a little bit more antsy than in the previous weeks. Okay. So, because a small little windstorm came through, and for some dogs that can be a factor. So, first thing we want to always focus on is making sure that Linnie is in the proper position. Okay, so it should be the correctional 180 right turn with the cap to lock her in. So we'll revisit that, and then for your right turn, what you're doing is more so like a soft right type of turn. You're swinging your leg out. Okay, and what we want to do is actually extend that leg and pivot back to go back the opposite way. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're getting this kind of turn. It should be to slow down, extend the left leg, back to the right leg, forward to the left leg. Okay, so first thing we'll do is we're going to give Linnie some slack here. I'm going to have you give slack until bring your right hand back onto the leash and then relax completely. And take up a little bit more slack. Oh, right there. Oh, too much. There. So, as a reference point for you, you see that little loop there? At the bottom of your leash, like that J shape that's there? Tap. 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 Good. It should be equal to like her armpit. If it's equal to her armpit, she won't step over it. So then the dogs get tangled up. So if you keep it about armpit length or height, it'll prevent that from happening. So give her slack so that she can make mistakes, but not too much slack where she's getting tangled up. You're currently at 55. Let's give a couple of taps here.
Yeah.
Tap. Up.
Hey,
Tap.
you too.
Good. Let's go to like 60.
You gotta have it open on one side during the contact. You gotta have the,
Tap.
gotta have it.
Good. And relax. Very good. Try 67. Good. So first we're going to start with getting Linnie to line up more with the left leg, and then we'll start to go into those turns. Hopefully so that we can give you you a feel for when she's in the correct position, how, because you said it feels unnatural, right? And it feels unnatural because since she's like this, you're having to come around, right? But if she's right next to you, it should be a really smooth, just right, left, right, and we're going back the opposite way. Okay? Questions? So I'll coach you through this. Go ahead and go into your heel. Yep, and good. Go ahead and turn your right, tap to your right. Pivot, tap forward, yep. Now slow walk. Now right turn, tap, right, other right. Sorry, try it again. So, we have a few different types of turns. That correctional turn is always like this, okay? Just straight the opposite way. Don't worry about speed. You want to make it very quick and fluid, okay? Because if you take too much time to make that turn, she will catch wind of it, right? And she'll start to correct the issue, but she won't pick up the fact that she was off the body and you're trying to get her to come here with the remote, okay? So try to get a bit more slack. Right there, good. And heel. Yep. Right turn, tap, tap, forward. There you go, good job. Right turn again, tap forward, good. Now slow walk. Now you're ready to make the left turn. Good, you're fine. Careful, Mike. Pivot to your right. Forward. Try it again. Get ready for a left turn. Almost. Better. Go ahead and pivot to your right. Good, forward. One hug towards the right side of the sidewalk. And when you make this left turn, you want to keep it at the same speed that you're moving when you slow down. No stops. Get ready for left turn. Right. Almost. Okay, and then slow to stop. Good. So better. Do you see where you're struggling? What feels awkward? Okay. So from my perspective, the right leg on that one was correct. Very pronounced. But when you brought the left leg, what you did was you did this. Okay, you brought it even with your right leg. And what it would be this that you did, then this. So you're still moving forward, and then turning it like that. Okay. So originally we had this to like something like this. Okay. And you want to bring step out with the right, step forward with the left, step out with the right again, like that. So you're maintaining this forward momentum. Because when you like do that step and you match it, for her, it looks like a stop. And then she's like, what are we doing, right? So one more time, we want right, left, right, real sharp U-turn there. Okay? Let's try it again, just a little bit better. Heel. Forward. You got it. Slow down. Go to pivot to your right. Better. Yes, better. Much better. Try it again. Right, left, cut it, that right, cut it. There you go, you got it, good, better, more. Right, up. There you go. Good. Good. We had some good ones, we had some not so good ones, okay? On the not so good ones, did you see the issue when you're turning to the left? You're actually doing better. Go ahead and sitter. Yep. Yep, there we go, very good, and relax, good. There was no slowdown prior. So what happened was, right when you're getting ready to turn, you're giving little cues that she's seeing. And for whatever reason, she's actually speeding up a bit. So her right shoulder ends up being here. So by the time you're doing this, half her body is here. And then you're having to compensate by kind of tugging back a bit. So slowing down prior to that turn, if you see Linnie going, I don't know if you heard, but I said go to your right. So to correct her, to line her up first, okay? Because that lineup is so important in order for those left turns to make sense to her, okay? So we have two parts here. We have Linnie paying attention to you, and then we have you reinforcing Linnie paying attention to you, right? And whenever she gets out of line, don't think like, oh, you should know better. You've done this for like weeks. It's always, what do I need to do to get you back in position? Okay? So we're gonna try that again. Your speed is good, your assertiveness is good. We're gonna remember do that slow down. But now if you see Linnie going, remember her right shoulder, past your left leg, don't even worry about left. Start tapping and go the opposite way. Okay? And then we'll go into the left turns. Right? Whenever you're ready. Right, so right turn, tap forward, good. And then hug a little bit this way. There you go. And then slow walk. Slower. See how she passes right there? Tap, forward, good. Slow walk. Slower. Now try to go with that turn. Careful, Mike. Good. There you go. And what's your number right now? Let's go 75. On your left. Right, right turn. Tap forward, tap forward. Good. Right, slowing down. Get ready to do that left sharp cut. Right. Oh, stop right. Turn to your right. You want me to show you? Yeah. Yep. Slow. Right, left, right. Okay. Speed up. Good girl. Slow. Yep. Right, left, right. Okay. So very direct. Tap. Slow. Right, left, right. Tap. Tap. Right, left, right. One more time. Slow. Right, left, right. If she sits, no big deal. But you have to keep your momentum. Girl. Yep. Good. Yep. Right, left, right. And if you have to, don't be worried about using a little bit of physicality, okay? That's what's gonna make you more wary of your movements. And then if it's not this, it's this, okay? Quick. Good. Now, I make it look easy because I've been doing this for 10 years. So, if I can do it, you can do it. Try again. Right, left, there you go. Very good. There you go, very good. Two more. Yep, power through, very good. Last one. Tap forward. Good. Excellent. Okay, let's slow to stop when you're ready. You got it. There you go. Okay. So, did that feel better?
Yeah, I think just realizing just how much whenever she has time.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, you have to have the attention first for any of this to work, right? So those correctional turns that we went over on the first class of just those immediate rights whenever she's ahead of you, super important, always in effect, okay? Now, if you find you're still having to do correctional turns, we're too low, right? Now, of course, this collar isn't the one that I recommend. I know yours is getting fixed. Once you get yours back, that working level is super important. That's what makes everything a breeze, okay? Because once you have that appropriate number, the amount of turns that you're doing to correct her during a walk should be progressively getting less, okay? If you feel like every day on the walk, it's on every walk 10 turns, we're not getting better, right? It's staying static. So that's where we play with higher numbers to start decreasing that rate of turnaround. The more she's locked in, everything should be very smooth. Like right there, that stop, that's a perfect stop. Right there, right shoulder lined up to your left leg. Your turns were much easier, right? So, yes, we're training the dog, right? We're training Linnie, but it ultimately always falls back on the human to reinforce things, right? So, you can learn skills, like these are skills, and you can apply them. Linnie doesn't learn skills and apply them. She goes by what you're reinforcing, right? So if Linnie thinks, hey, I can get away with walking half a foot in front of mom, she's gonna get away with half a foot in front of you, right? Which then throws everything else off. Okay? So it's a small little detail, but it makes a big difference. And I want you to think going forward, if you ever come to a stop, if you're ever doing a pivot, if you're ever doing a left turn, if it ever feels awkward, we're doing something incorrectly. Okay? If everything's like if she's supposed to be where she's supposed to be, and all your communication is correct, it's pretty straightforward. So if that happens where you're like, oh man, those left turns are awkward.
Let me go down it.
Go down there.
We're gonna put our feet up here.
If things are going back to being awkward, stop and think to yourself like, what am I possibly doing incorrectly? I would look at Linnie's position. Again, that right shoulder, right here, parallel to your left leg, right? So it's just like if you're walking beside a friend and you're having a conversation or shoulder to shoulder, right? Same thing for Linnie. So if you're like, oh, wait a minute, that right shoulder is ahead of me, we would go back to those immediate right pivots, tap, 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 lock her in, and everything should be fairly smooth. Okay? Gotcha. Any questions about this stuff? Good. Did we talk about the stay last week? We just did turns, right? Okay. Did we talk about, did you happen to get a long leash? You have one. Okay, do you have one with you? No? Okay. Next class, plan to have it with you. Is it a flex leash or is it like a leash but long? Okay, do you know what your length is? Okay, I would check it if you would, please. If it's at least 20 feet, that's fine. If it's 30 feet, that's perfect. Okay, if it's longer than 30 feet, no big deal. It'll just be a lot of leash, okay? But we'll have that for next class. If you forget it, no big deal. We'll bring that with us. We always have one with us. But what we're going to work on is teaching Linnie to stay, okay? The way I teach stay, the way most people interpret stay is pretty different. So like right now, Linnie is in a sitting position, but she's not in a sit, right? What command is she in?
Sit, stop.
What was the last thing you said to her? Yes. She's in a heel, right? Remember, heel is a package. Walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop, right? So most people would interpret it as a sit, right? But sit would be sit. The last thing you said was heel, okay? So if you were to move again, Linnie's inclination would be to move with you, because that's what heel is, right? So what we want to, when we teach the concept of stay, we're teaching Linnie, when I cue this word, it means I'm going to move, but you're not going to move. Does that make sense? So since she's already in a sitting position, human logic says I cannot say sit, right? I could say down, but we've not taught down yet. And what we want to work on is to stay. So instead we're going to say stay, okay? Once you cue the word stay, then technically Linnie would be in a sit command. Does that make sense? Because that's the position that she's in. So with her on her left side, I like to use the hand closest to her, with her left, and I'll just wave in front. Don't worry about if she sees it or not, just wave. And you would say stay. And you're going to pivot out in front of Linnie with your right leg, so it'll look something like this. Okay. Linnie will be right in front of you, and then you step back to her side like this, okay? Excuse me, so, heel, walking, I come to my stop, Linnie sits, stay, out with the right leg, now you're facing back into her side, good girl, okay? Now when you step out, Linnie might think, oh, you're moving. She might want to follow. You would, like, have you had a leash that's perfect? When you're moving, your left hand would pull up to stop her, and you would press your button to reposition her, and then you would continue with stepping off in front of her. Does that make sense? Okay? So, I'll have you first go into a heel, and then you'll pivot around, and you'll come to a stop about right here, and then once you stop, we'll go into the stay. Good? That's fine, good. And trailer up, yeah, that's okay. Try again, heel. Good. Good. Heel. Go ahead and do a slow turn. Good. Good left turn. Very good. Good. Straight, right. Good. Up tap. Tap. It's good. Try it again. Heel. Good. Good. You're good. More. Perfect. Go ahead and heel and bring her back. Excellent. Very good. So she was actually having trouble on your return. When you come back to her side, for whatever reason, that's when she would stand up. So we would just correct it. And I don't really count those as stays because there was a break at the end. So then I just counted the ones where she stayed put the entire time. Okay? So now we're gonna make it a little bit harder. You're gonna do the same concept. If you can, when you get the stay, see if you can step out a little bit more away from Linnie. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna pause for a second. And then you're gonna move in front of Linnie in like a half moon or a half circle. And then you'll come back and then return to her side and go to the heel. Okay? Whenever you're ready. Good. Good. Tap up. You got it. Yep. And then, yep. You got it. Right there. Good. 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 Going to bring her back. Good. So, on a couple of those, she kept trying to move towards you. Do you know why that is? So for the last couple of weeks, it's been tap bent, come to your side. So that's why we're doing the stay now, to help her start to differentiate between two different concepts. One is stay with me, and the other one is stay put, right? So the other part that I saw was she was getting a bit nervous. I don't know if you saw her kind of ducking her head like that, right? So this command, especially when there's a lot of stuff going on, for her would help that nervousness quite a bit. So think of yourself as kind of like a sense of security or like a security blanket in some context, right? So like if a bike comes by and she's not sure about it, she's most likely going to inch towards you, right? To give her some kind of comfort. Humans tend to like it because they're like, oh, the dog sees discomfort, right? But for the dog, it's actually not beneficial. They become needy or kind of reliant or dependent on that person in terms of feeling secure. And I would like for dog or the dog to feel secure in themselves. So let's say, for example, I'm training a dog that doesn't like traffic, right? So the owner goes to 6 corners, and while the light's red, they'll say stay, and they'll stay away from the dog, and the dog's like, holy crap, right? They're by themselves, even though the owner's just like 2 feet away. And you'll see the dog very concerned because there's traffic going all over the place, and then once it's done, the owner will come back, and then they'll go back to the heel, right? So what they've done there is they put the dog in a vulnerable position because they're not right next to them anymore, right? But then the dog is thinking, well, if I get up, remote happens, but if I don't move, yes, I'm not comfortable, but nothing bad happens. So they start to process things like, oh, like it's not a big deal that I'm away from my owner 2 to 3 feet and there's all this going on, okay? And that's how you can start to build independence or more confidence in that kind of scenario, right? So, let's say, for example, we have Linnie and we know bikes and stuff, right? And we walk over with her to the lakefront, and there's a trail with a ton of bikes. And I go, stay. Right? And then Linnie's over here going, very kind of nervous. Everything's happening. Maybe she tries to get up and tap her. She goes, okay. And she's taking all of this, right? She's going to not look happy, okay? She's going to look very concerned. She'll look very nervous. And then you return to her, the girl, like nothing happened, right? And she goes, oh, that wasn't too bad. Like, sure, I saw a few bikes and I got a little nervous, but ultimately nothing bad happened, right? That's how we could use this to better teach her to handle that nervousness. I really don't care about the stay command. I care about the benefits that it can bring depending on the case that I'm working with. Does that make sense? In my opinion, stay is like the least useful command. There's only a couple of instances, realistically speaking, that you can apply it. One is like, let's say after the knee moves, while you're picking up, instead of like all of this happening, I can tap her into a sitting position, say stay, and pick this up in peace without having her pull me all over the place. Let's say we're gonna throw away that poop bag, trash can's here, stay, you hold on to the leash, throw it away, come back, right? And the last one would be if you hit a stoplight, instead of just standing there, I'll use it as an opportunity to practice the stay, and then walk around until it turns green, then come back, heel, and then start walking. But all our commands like sit, down, or place have implied stay. So we rarely if ever actually use it, okay? But for her, because of the behavioral thing and wanting to build that confidence around fast-moving objects, you would have more practical application than the average dog owner would, okay? Questions so far? So we're gonna try that again. When you do the stay, I'm gonna have you stay away from her and do that movement around her a bit longer before returning to her side. If we see she gets up a few times, correct each time and continue to stay away from her, okay? Until you can do a successful kind of full walk around, then you'll come back to return to the girl and then go into the heel, okay? Whenever you're ready. Try this. Go ahead and put her in the heel. Come back here. Good. stop. Excellent. Now when you step away from her, what you can do to help you out a bit more is you can shorten your leash, right? So that when you pull up, you have immediate contact and it limits her range of motion. And don't be afraid to put a bit more power to keep her back, right? Because what happens is if you try to stop her over here and you tap her, but she comes here, she thinks that's what she's supposed to do, right? And you're trying to get her to put the butt down away from you, and then the pressure turns off, and she goes, oh, it's not come to mom, it's go back to what I was doing, okay? Good. Up, tap, tap, up, up, up. There you go, much better, much better, much better, yep, much better, yep, good, better. Tap, tap, you got it, tap, tap, keep her away. You got it, keep moving around. Good, yep. Keep going, you got it, you got it. Now back to her side. That was a real good one, that was very good. Yep. Good. Now back to her side. Perfect. 3 more. Very good. Good. Last one. Very good. Up, tap, correct, correct. Yep. Keep moving. Good. Slow to a stop. Very good. Those were much better. Now, make it a little bit harder. Okay. Now we're going to do a full circle. Okay. So one thing that you might see is when you're walking behind Linnie, she'll be sitting and she might do this. Okay. But she's still sitting. If it happens, you let it go. Don't correct it. Okay. If she sits up or stands up, yes, you correct her back to sitting, but as long as she's on her butt, if she pivots, it's okay. That tends to fix itself once the dog understands that they're not supposed to move. So it'll be the same exact thing. All those were much better because you were stopping her away from you, but now you're going to be doing the full walk around, okay? Up tap. You got it. Good job. Good. Much better. Good. Up, tap, tap, tap. Good. What's the number? I'm sorry, what? Good. One more. Good. Go ahead and bring her back right here. Good. There we go. We're going to do one last run. We're going to do 3 of these. You're going to walk around and then walk back around the other way. Okay, so you're going to do 2 full circles, one way and one back the other way. Okay, whenever you're ready. You got it. Good. Good. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Try again. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Good. One more. Good. Yep. Good job. Good job. Almost. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. Good. Try one more walk around here. Very good. And then heel back over here. Good. And so stop. Good. So she's struggling to move a little, but you were able to get the successful full walk around, right? So it's a very simple thing. What I would suggest first is when you practice these, maybe somewhere a little bit more secluded, just to make it a bit easier. And then you get a good feel for like, oh, okay, like you've got a good foundation for it, and then start using it to your advantage when it comes to like, you know, the things that make her nervous. Okay, just stay and then giving her, and you're gonna see her like she's gonna want to run to you, and that's why it's important to have it shorter there. So I know like when we're walking, we want slack, so she has the capacity to make mistakes. But then when you need to apply immediate control, like reinforcing the sitting position, you want to be closer to the collar, so that when you pull up, you're not all the way up here trying to pull her up. You're just right away, and you can keep her away from you. okay? Because as soon as she lands next to you, it's done. Like, she doesn't learn anything, and if anything, she reinforced the need for security. So if it happens, no big deal. But I ideally want more wins in our favor, or behaviorally for her, than obviously for her. Okay, so we made a few tweaks today. The left turns much better after we figured out that lining up and everything. Not being afraid to power through, right? Be very direct. And then now the stays, and you don't have to set like time aside for it. Like when you go for your walks, just like make it a part of the walk. It's the easiest way to go about it. Okay? Questions? Okay. So you have your homework for the week. If anything pops up, you let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next. Okay? Awesome. Thank you.